Welcome to Women's Wealth and Wellness Unleashed. I'm Lori Falk, and together with my three powerhouse co-hosts and a slew of thought leaders and luminaries, we're bringing you a scintillating talk show style podcast that will disrupt the worlds of wealth and wellness as we know them today. We invite you to go on this journey with us as we offer you a paradigm shift that empowers you to change your approach to these key areas of your life. Join us and discover the truth that the future of wealth and wellness begins with you. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Women's Wealth and Wellness Unleashed. I'm your host, Lori Falk, and I am here with my three amazing co-hosts. And today we realize that this should be debuting in the height of the holiday season. So we thought we would come to you today with a topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts: biohacking your way through the holiday season. Because we really want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to get through what's commonly referred to as flu season, but it's really sugar season, in a healthy way. So since we created a title called Biohacking, I'm going to turn to our leading expert in the field of biohacking, Ms. Dangerfield. Jenny, would you be a sweetheart and tell our listeners exactly what the heck is biohacking?
Thank you, Lori. I would love to talk about biohacking. It is a term that is a really hot topic these days. And it's you'll see some things coming out globally within the next week or so, that biohacking is really kind of taking the world by storm. So what seems to be kind of a trend is really something that we as humans have been doing since the beginning. Biohacking is really, anything that you can utilize to up level your experience on this earth, right? It's anything that we can do to increase our longevity, heighten our vitality, and really kind of have the best experience health wise that we possibly can. A lot of people associate biohacking with nutrition. And so you hear a lot of terms like ketones and intermittent fasting and things like that. A lot of people associate it with just supplements. But for me, and in my practice and what I do with my clients, it's really utilizing all of these amazing tools that we have to help our bodies remember what we do innately and what our bodies are really meant to do in the ultimate divine sense, right? We were born with all of the capabilities inside us to live a healthy, vital life. And so with today's, toxins and the environment that we're in, sometimes we lag a little bit in certain areas. And then, with stress and, different things that we put on our cells, we tend to weaken our immune system. So really, biohacking is anything that you can do to help your body stay in a more mindful state. Mindfulness is something really big that I think that we should talk about. Also, making sure that your immune system is ready for a season filled with lots of unhealthy eating, binge eating, foods, sugary sweet treats, all of these things that we associate with the holidays that we typically think of, oh yeah, this is flu season. But is it really? Or are we just kind of going into this hibernation state where we aren't getting as much exercise? It's cold out, we're indoors, we're not getting the fresh air, as much sunshine, and we are eating a lot of really kind of junky type of foods that are probably void of nutrition. So I think, from my perspective, that is ultimately what biohacking is it's any ways that we can help our bodies to stay fit and healthy so we have the best chance at a long, healthy, vibrant life.
And I just
That is the best
love the
description
sound
I
of
have
that.
ever heard
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
of
absolutely.
biohacking.
Yeah. And for me, who is very, very new to biohacking, when both you and Laurie were talking there, you reminded me of a lyric from a song. Hopefully, you all know Robbie Williams. And one of his songs says, "Overdose at Christmas, give it all up for Lent." Because that's what we do, don't we? We overdose at Christmas. We drink too much alcohol. We eat too much chocolate. We eat too much fatty foods. We don't exercise enough, etc. And I wonder why I then enter the new year feeling appalling. A lack of quality sleep, lack of quality exercise, put on weight, etc., etc. So for me, Jen, to get tips from you how I can, for once, biohack my way through the rest of this festive season, I can't wait to hear, because I need this as much as any of our listeners do. So I am all ears.
Leslie, we promised our audience that we were going to be disruptive. So I'm going to put this in a disruptive context. Jenny started by talking about nutrition, right? We eat every day. Most of us are fortunate enough that we get to eat every day. So we're either treating or mistreating ourselves every single day. But here's the thing. Many people in our world, not us, but many people in our world are still looking to their doctors and the medical community for guidance about this promise that Jenny's describing of living a long, healthy life. Here's the thing. This is a statistic. Most physicians had a half hour's worth of nutrition training in medical school. 100%. You're making a face. We said we were going to pull back the curtain, and here it is.
Yeah.
So that's the most basic thing we can be talking about, and we're not getting it at all. We have, as a culture, been primed to get sick because it's really profitable for many, many structures that we get sick. But what we were, referring to when we were talking about this episode, here in the US at least, we start with Halloween, which is a candy holiday.
Yeah.
Sugar holiday. We go the following month into Thanksgiving, which does not have to be unhealthy. Turkey is actually a good thing for everybody, all the blood types, but it's typically an overindulged period of time. Then Christmas is a month later, and New Year's a week after that. And then everybody gives everything up for a week, generally, New Year, New You, these resolutions that don't last. But there's no balance. It's not coming from intelligence. And I want to be really clear here. I've been a wellness nutrition professional for decades. I'm also a foodie and a pleasure-seeking person. So I am not at all suggesting that we don't really enjoy the season, because my view is life is too freaking short.
Absolutely.
But when we're talking about hacks, the tips that can make things better, I'm going to mention a couple of ridiculously simple things that you just don't generally hear. Just staying hydrated and a little bit active during this season not only can prevent a lot of things from, being less balanced, but it maintains our alignment with our inner intelligence. There's a difference between saying, I am going to have that glass of wine and that piece of cake because I'm really here to enjoy, versus just letting it all go and trashing ourselves. And, with the promise that we're going to give it up for Lent or, for the new year.
Yeah.
So we've been primed by our culture, all the institutions and the food companies and all of that, to practice really, really unhealthy habits. And I personally will say that is not what promotes the pleasure of the season. I think our being in tune with what's really most meaningful to us, both the events and experiences and the people we get to see, and yes, the food and drink. But it doesn't have to be a complete overindulgence.
Just that.
It can be intelligent choices of what we
want most. And I'll just leave off by saying, sometimes I'll be at an event and, something will be offered and I will decline. And I hear what I think is like a stupid comment of like, oh, you're being really good. And I go like, really, screw that. This is not about good. I don't really enjoy that enough to choose it. I'd rather have something else or nothing right now. But it's not about deprivation, because any of you who know me know that I don't believe in that at all. So I'm here to say it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And Lori, I know you have a wealth of information to contribute to this conversation as well.
Oh, I do. I certainly do. I've already started with my clients in mid-November suggesting some hacks. So here's what I say. Go to the parties, have fun, but pick your sugar. All right? Pick your sugar. I love chocolate chip cookies, but I'm going to tell you a secret. I love Chardonnay more. So I have my wine and I skip the cookies.
Yeah.
It's just truth. It's truth. And I know what you mean, Susan, about people kind of looking at you like, oh, aren't you being a goody two shoes? But I tend to be gluten-free. Right? I tend to be gluten-free, and I used this one last night. Someone offered me something they had just baked, and I didn't want them to feel bad. And I said, oh my goodness, that smells so yummy. I said, but I'm gluten-free. And my friend went, oh, that's right. And they weren't offended at all, not at all. And he promised me, he said, next time I'm going to use almond flour. And I said, next time I'll try it. So, it's little things like that. And you mentioned staying hydrated. Now, having had in-depth conversations about hydration with with your cousin, Doc Steve, he tells me all the time, he's like the doctor to the stars out in Los Angeles. And he said that 95% of the people who come into his practice are dehydrated. And it's not because they're not drinking enough water. It's because there's not enough hydrogen in the water, because it's the hydrogen that really keeps the body hydrated. So that's why you're seeing such an uptick in the biohacking world of devices that are hydrogen water bottles or putting hydrogen tablets into your water. It's getting that water back to the state that it was a couple hundred years ago, right? And I had to tell you, my little cockapoo she won't drink tap water. She will drink Evian water. She will drink well water, but you give her hydrogen water and you better be taking her out to pee every couple hours, because that bowl's going down faster and faster and faster. So animals innately know. I mean, that's just a simple little thing, but they innately know. I mean, I didn't tell her hydrogen water is better for you than the rest, but she just intuitively knows. So that's a real big thing to consider. And it's a simple hack, right?
I had no idea Gabby was such a snob.
Oh, God. Look who her mother is. I'm kidding.
All right. Okay. You
So,
rest your case.
I'm going to go even a little more simple for people that might not have a hydrogen water bottle going into this season, but it's definitely something you should look into. And you can check out some of Lori's information if you want to find out more
It'd
about
be a
that.
great Christmas gift.
Right? So here is something, I mentioned mindfulness, and Susan was talking about, enjoying yourself, right? Okay, so here's a really easy hack that you can do to help your body and help your digestive system. In the morning when you wake up, I'm sure everyone's heard you should drink warm lemon water, right? Why do we do this? Warmth activates the spleen, okay? Our spleen chi, especially in the morning, really helps the kidneys start their flow, which helps the process of digestion begin. So this is going to help start to flush out all of those toxins from your night's sleep when we start to detox the most, to really help release those things. So warm water, even if it's just warm water, right, in the mornings. And if you can crack some nice salt into it as well, That's going to help open up your cells and prepare your cells for hydration. Okay, so that's going to really help the frequency of your cells be like ready to hydrate. So that is my little hack number one. Number two would be your thought process when you are indulging. Okay, we want to stay away from guilt. When so many people get hung up on, oh my gosh, if I have another glass of wine, is anyone going to think I'm a lush? If I have this piece of cake, what's it's going to do to my hips? If you're eating something and thinking negative thoughts, then you better believe that damn right it's going to go to your hips in a negative way. Okay, we process food the same way we process all of our emotions. So we want to stay in that kind of positive light and know that this too shall pass. Okay, you are going to come into spring, you're going to get back into your exercises, but if you are stuck indoors, if you're in a place where it's snowing over the holidays, make sure that you're stretching, especially like with your arms, because especially as women, we get really kind of blocked up in our lymph system, right in here in our arms. Okay, so think about that too. Massaging yourself, look up tapping if you want to, really kind of think of lymphatic drainage and just kind of help everything move through the body. So those would be my little easy ways that you can hack at home without too much effort. All right. Does that make sense, Leslie?
Yeah, I love that as well, because I think it is about being mindful about what you're eating and drinking. Just because the big box of chocolates is in front of you, you do know the 10th chocolate is probably going to make you feel a bit sick and a bit guilty. So I think you are right to actually enjoy what you're eating, enjoy what you're drinking. But if a point comes where you suddenly think, I've had one too many, or I'm feeling a little bit squiffy, I think actually for me now I'm a little bit older, I do think about how am I going to feel about this tomorrow? How am I going to feel about this in half an hour? And I do liken it, just for a short moment, I do liken it to how we manage our money as well. When it comes to buying something, but you've got a longer term goal in mind, it is being mindful. Do I really want that thing? Or am I going to put that money aside for that bigger goal that I've got? And I know for me, I do try at Christmas, not always successfully, but I do try now and think, do I want to get on the scales on the 2nd of January and go, hell's bells, how much did I put on? So I do, and I do enjoy the chocolates, and I do enjoy the wine, and I do enjoy sausage rolls over in the UK. But I do try now, but I have made a note of warm water on waking with salt, stretching, and actually really making a bigger effort this holiday season to be mindful as well. So there were 3 fab tips. Thank you.
But Leslie, you said something when you were speaking. I had another thought that I was going to reflect back at you that is kind of parallels intelligence with the way we manage our financial assets as well. And that's the principle of diminishing returns. Because what you just said, and I think this would be a great way for people to think about it. That first bit of chocolate is always the best. And by the way, parenthetically, dark chocolate is a superfood. It has lots of benefits nutritionally and for reducing cortisol. So if somebody is a chocolate lover, that's not the worst choice they could make. But each piece after that is somewhat less good because we are already a little bit numb to that experience. And that first piece is not going to harm us at all. But as you said, the 10th one will. So I think that's another way of thinking about this is like, I'm here to enjoy. But when I reach that peak where the next indulgences are not going to be nearly as, enjoyable as the ones before, that's a good place to stop.
Yeah, I agree. Doing it because you want to rather than because you can. And I think that is the key thing, isn't it? You're actually choosing to have
Yes.
another glass of wine, not because it's simply being offered to you. And I think for me, that has become a real key consideration. Think about what you're doing and how you're going to feel after. In exactly the same way how I approach exercise, I try and hop on my Peloton if I can 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes I really can't be bothered. So instead, I say to myself, how are you going to feel after you've done it? So I guilt trip myself into getting on the bike, but afterwards, I feel amazing. So I try the bike, and I didn't even realize it was a biohack, really. I think I've probably built the term biohack into being something bigger than it actually is. But you're right that we're always biohacking. It's just I didn't necessarily realize that's what I was doing. So I'm going to be far more mindful. I've now also added dark chocolate to my list as well. Thank you for that, Susan.
And red wine, again, has health benefits. So dark chocolate and red wine, if one is going to have a, reasonable indulgence, are some of the best choices that we can make. And I will. I promise you. Probably
Absolutely.
tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And Jenny,
Another
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Another easy hack is if it's a potluck, bring an appetizer or something that's a little bit more healthy that you really love. And if there's unhealthy choices, eat what you brought. I mean, you have a little more control than you think. And exercise, Peloton bikes, great. But Jenny, you were talking about the lymphatic system, and rebounding is the number one thing. And rebounding is simply just jumping on a mini trampoline. So you can get an expensive, $200, $300, $400 rebounder, or you can go to Walmart and get a $50 mini trampoline. And just jumping on that for like 10 minutes a day is going to get the lymphatic fluids going. Because here's the thing, the blood has a pump called the heart. The lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. So that up and down bouncing on that rebounder, or just bouncing up and down on your toes as well, it's going to get that the lymphatic fluids moving. And that's super, super, super important. You want to think immune, because the immune system, when it's operating at an optimal efficiency level, is designed to handle anything you throw at it. Now, not giving you free will to go and party your butts off. But the point is, get that immune system as healthy as you can. And if anybody who's a client of mine knows that I'm going to say the number one thing you can do for your health is supplement with redox signaling molecules. The science is rock solid. When you're a baby, you have trillions of these molecules in your body. They're the molecules that tell your cells what to do with everything else. And just like these expensive little cell phones, if you're in the middle of a desert and you don't have a signal, throw this thing away because it doesn't work. So by the time you're 40, you have 50% fewer redox signaling molecules. By the time you're 70, you have 90% fewer. And it wasn't until recently, even though research scientists knew for decades the importance of these molecules, they didn't know what to do about it. And now it's available as a supplement. And seriously consider it, because it was a godsend getting through COVID. I actually nebulized those molecules right into my lungs. It was pretty phenomenal. So that's going to boost your immune system, because your immune system, your every cell in your body is going to know what it needs to do properly. Oh my God, imagine that. Imagine that.
Lori, I love the reminder about the rebounding.
Yeah, I'd
And I
forgotten about
also
that.
want to remind us, in a pinch or walking doesn't cost anything and can be done anywhere. And just even thinking of, taking a walk after dinner, after a holiday dinner, is just gonna enhance digestion and again, keep you in alignment with your intelligence. And one of the things I wanted to say to Jenny, and one of the reasons I loved her description earlier, was when I first heard the term biohacking, I thought it only was about the technologies that we now have available. Like I
That's what I
didn't
thought. Yeah.
realize, how accessible this is. It's kind of, like a fancy term for, learning about the intelligence of the body and how to support it, because the examples and the tips that you offered they're no-brainers. Like anybody can do this. And again, in our disruptive space, I'm somebody who's kind of pissed off that most people have not learned these basic things about their own functioning. And we've sprinkled a whole lot of stuff here today, from some basic things to some more sophisticated ones, like Lori was just sharing. And we're going to be doing that every single episode because there is so much that the world doesn't know that it really needs to know. And we're just super excited about sharing it with you because among the four of us, we've explored a lot of this stuff, as I'm sure you can tell.
And I think again, sorry, can I just bring one other parallel and I come back to you then, Jen?
Please.
Sorry. Again, there's that same parallel with regards to managing our money. So many people think it's difficult, it's hard to manage your money because so much is spoken about, terms that are confusing, all the different things around, cryptocurrency and the different asset classes and the language that we use that other people use around money confuses. So people will bury their head in the sand and go, I can't manage my money, it's too confusing. And I think you have just very clearly shown there, Susan, that I thought biohacking was something to do purely with technology. It was something I had to invest in. It was something I had to understand, when actually all three of you ladies have demonstrated it is something that you can learn at your own pace. It is something you're probably doing, but not mindfully and possibly not enough of. And I love the fact that you have broken it down in such a way that somebody who is a newbie like me to being more effective at managing her health, actually, in the same way as I support people to manage their money and their wealth. I think it is great that we are bringing to people that awareness that looking after yourself, getting to know your body better can be done simple steps at a time. Over to you, Jen.
Yeah, so I have just one more thing to kind of wrap up how I feel about biohacking, because I have presented at a lot of conferences around biohacking, some of the most prestigious around the world. And I get asked quite a bit, what is my favorite biohacking tool? And my answer is very simple. It is you. It is me. We are the ultimate biohacking tool. Okay, so this is something that we cannot forget. There is nothing outside of us that we need to help what's going on in here. Now, that being said, like I mentioned before, with the environment that we live in today and the stress that we have of, typically stemming from money and our finances, that really inundates our cells with a lot of heaviness and a lot of toxicity and calcification. So there are a lot of beautiful tools that we can use to help our body. But ultimately, when it comes to biohacking, it is very simple. You are the key. Everything starts with you. And so you really have to find something that you're going to love, that you can be consistent with. Because any type of holistic modality, whatever it is that you're learning about in this wellness space, especially, as we're coming into this kind of new age of wellness and how to be in tune with our bodies, it's all about consistency. So we have to find something, we have to find whatever the tools it is that we want to use that we know that we're going to love and use every day, and that we can be really consistent with, because that's how you see the change. And that's how change becomes permanent, when you can really get your lifestyle wrapped around that kind of mindset of consistency. So I think I just wanted to leave it with that.
Way cool.
And way exciting. This week, when this is airing, you will be able to learn way more about this topic, because Jenny, what you said is true. It starts with us. It starts with the individual, but the individual has to educate themselves. So this week in Las Vegas at the A4M event, which is one of the biggest medical conferences in the country with over 5,000 medical professionals, there is a debut of an amazing documentary called Biohack Yourself. make sure you're aware of it, make sure you get a hold of it, make sure you watch it, because that documentary is going to be chock full of some of the most incredible hacks from the very top holistic people in the industry. And Jenny's part of that marketing team. So kudos to you, Jen, for being part of that. So, and that wasn't her plugging it. That was me. I'm not on the team. So
Mm.
Wow, these are exciting times. We're so happy to be here sharing this with you. I want to wish everybody a really happy and healthy holiday
Absolutely.
because I know that's available to all of us. And
Thank
how
you.
else would we like to wrap up today?
I would say your health is your wealth. So take care of it and eat uber healthy when you're at home. You know that there's going to be stuff at parties. You know you're not going to have control when you're visiting relatives, but when you're home, eat uber healthy and love yourself. Look yourself in the mirror every night and say, I love you. You're the most incredible person in the world. There's no one else I'd rather go through this holiday season with than you.
Thank you, ladies.
See you next week.
Thank
Happy
you so much. We look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us today on Women's Wealth and Wellness Unleashed, where we empower women to take control of the two most important areas of their life, their health and their wealth. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another amazing woman who's ready to elevate her wealth and wellness journey. Stay connected with us by heading to our website and joining our Facebook community. All the details can be found in the show notes. Until next time, keep thriving and unleashing your highest potential.